In the episode's opening, the stone Hashira is explaining to Tanjiro and Zenitsu that if they can stabilize their lower body and core, their attack and defense will significantly improve. Gimyu then outlines his training regimen to them. First, they have to stand under a cold waterfall. Next, they must lift 3 heavy logs. And finally, they need to carry this large stone 358 feet away. He mentions that these are the only 3 steps of his training, as he has removed the fire training because it could burn them. Upon hearing the training steps, Zenitsu faints. Gimyu tells Tanjiro to take Zenitsu to the river. As soon as Zenitsu touches the water, he regains consciousness and exclaims that the water is extremely cold, making him feel like his internal organs are freezing and that he might die. He quickly says he needs to find solid ground. Once he is on the ground, he continues to complain about the cold, saying he might be too late and could be dying. Then, we see some other students clinging to a rock. One of the students suggests that Zenitsu should cling to the rock, which he does. Zenitsu immediately feels much better, comparing it to being in his mother's arms. After that, Tanjiro also enters the water, finding it very cold. He remarks that the training is quite harsh. He then notices Inosuke and another boy standing under the waterfall, both praising Buddha. However, one of the boys suddenly runs away. Tanjiro observes that Inosuke is giving it his all and thinks that he should do the same. But he realizes that Inosuke has stopped making any noise. Concerned, Tanjiro says this is really bad and pulls Inosuke out of the water to bring him back to consciousness. When Inosuke regains consciousness, Tanjiro is very happy. Then, Tanjiro also goes under the waterfall. When the water hits his head, he finds it unbearable. One of the students advises him to chant Nenbutsu, which will help him focus and ensure he doesn't pass out. Following this advice, Tanjiro starts chanting as well. In the next scene, everyone is clinging to a rock. Tanjiro comments that the training is very harsh and mentions that if he relaxes his body too much, his neck might break. Murata then says that Tanjiro and the boar-headed guy are amazing because it took him until evening just to reach the waterfall, and he could only stay under the water for 2 hours. Tanjiro responds that it's still quite impressive. Murata mentions that he has been training there for 10 days. In the following scene, we see everyone eating. Inosuke has already eaten 10 fish, including the bones, and remarks that they are quite crunchy. He then says that the old guy with the rattle beads is pretty insane. Tanjiro clarifies that he is referring to Gyome, the stone Hashira, and says Inosuke shouldn't give him nicknames. Inosuke responds that when he first met Gyome, his hair stood on end, and he believes Gyome is probably the most powerful among all the Hashira. Tanjiro agrees, saying he also feels that way and that Gyome's scent is different from all the other Hashira. Tanjiro speculates that Gyome might have even awakened his Demon Slayer mark. Inosuke adds that he wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. Then, we see some students talking to each other, wondering what's being discussed, but they agree that whatever it is, Tanjiro has grilled the fish well. Zenitsu comments that he doesn't think the old guy could move that huge stone even an inch himself and is just making them younger guys suffer. Tanjiro mentions that he has heard Mr. Gyome can even move stones heavier than this one. Zenitsu responds that he doesn't believe in rumors, to which Tanjiro replies that Zenitsu, being an expert in hearing, can verify the truth by listening himself. Zenitsu then watches Mr. Gyome move the stone himself, and both he and the others are astonished. Tanjiro remarks that Mr. Gyome is really strong and asks Zenitsu if he thinks he could ever become as strong as him. Zenitsu, visibly frustrated, acts foolishly and starts hitting Tanjiro on the head, asking if there's a house inside his head because he seems so stupid. He tells Tanjiro to take a good look at Mr. Gyome, who appears more like a beast, and states that the difference between a human and a beast is innate. After that, Inosuke declares that he is full and is now going to lift some logs. Zenitsu comments on how positive everyone is and says that this place isn't for him. Following this, Tanjiro and Zenitsu go under the waterfall and both start chanting Nenbutsu. However, Zenitsu starts to drown and floats away while still chanting, making the scene quite humorous. But Tanjiro rescues him from drowning, and they both return to the waterfall. Afterward, they complete their waterfall training. Tanjiro then proceeds to lift the logs and succeeds, completing that part of his training as well. After that, we see Nikime, a demon, keeping an eye on the Demon Slayer core. She reports to Muzan that she has located 60% of the Demon Slayer core and now needs to find the girl who has conquered the sun. Muzan praises her, saying she has exceeded his expectations. Then we see Tanjiro attempting to move the stone forward, but he is unsuccessful and falls down with his shoe tearing apart. He decides that he will fix it before resuming his training. We then see some other students who are leaving the training, telling Tanjiro that they can't keep up with him and the others. They say they will now focus on support roles and that everything depends on Tanjiro now. Tanjiro reassures them by saying it also depends on them. The students ask why it depends on them. Tanjiro explains that if they provide good sustainment support, he and the others can fight demons without worry. He says that all the demon slayers need to work together to defeat Muzan and cut off his head. The students then say goodbye to Tanjiro and leave, while he continues his training. Later, Tanjiro makes rice cakes for everyone. The rice cakes are praised for their perfect triangle shape, and everyone enjoys them. Murata comments that after experiencing the training session, he understands why the Hashira don't have many students. He suggests that the training is so exhausting that people either run away or end up like the guy with the golden hair, having their spirits crushed by seeing the difference in level between themselves and the Hashira. He notes that the Hashira do things that seem impossible for ordinary people and that they are truly incredible. After that, everyone compliments Tanjiro, saying that he cooks rice very well. Tanjiro explains that he is the son of a charcoal burner, so he knows the right temperature for cooking food perfectly. He then serves everyone roasted rice balls, which they enjoy a lot. The rice balls remind everyone of their mothers, and they become emotional and start crying. Seeing them happy, Tanjiro is reminded of his own family. Tanjiro then returns to his training, but he still doesn't succeed. 6 days pass, and he realizes he needs to hurry because demons won't stay inactive forever. Despite all his training, he hasn't been able to activate his mark yet. Genya arrives and comments that Tanjiro's mark seems to have darkened. Tanjiro asks if Genya is okay. Genya replies that he was confined and scolded by Mr. Guillaume, and he has been banned from seeing his brother. He thanks Tanjiro for defending him and apologizes for dragging him into his issues. He also asks about Tanjiro's mark. Tanjiro wonders if it really has darkened, as others haven't noticed. Genya suggests that the others might not have seen the difference because they see Tanjiro every day. He asks Tanjiro if he has a mirror, but Tanjiro says no. Genya promises to give him a mirror later, making Tanjiro happy. Meanwhile, Tanjiro and Genya's crows are fighting and telling each other to die. Genya asks Tanjiro if he's training with the boulder. Tanjiro confirms and then asks Genya if he succeeded in moving the boulder. Genya says he did, which surprises Tanjiro. Genya then asks if Tanjiro knows about repetitive motions, but Tanjiro doesn't. Genya explains that Mr. Guillaume isn't great at explaining things, so they have to learn by observing him. To maximize their concentration, they need to perform predetermined actions repetitively. For Genya, chanting Nembutsu works. Tanjiro mentions that he has seen Mr. Guillaume doing this too. Genya laughs and says that Tanjiro probably heard him chanting Namu Namu. Mr. Guillaume, overhearing their conversation, listens to everything. Genya then leaves and advises Tanjiro not to overtrain, wondering to himself who he's advising since Tanjiro never listens to anyone. Tanjiro takes Genya's advice to heart and tries to train while recalling past pain and anger, just like Genya and Mr. Guillaume. He aims to increase his heart rate and temperature but fails again, realizing that it will take more time. Later, Tanjiro's friends ask him to make dinner, and they mention that after eating his food, they can't eat anything else. They all start calling him Mom, affectionately because of his cooking skills. After that, Tanjiro goes to prepare dinner, and Genya comes to help him. Genya asks Tanjiro if he was able to use repetitive motion. Tanjiro replies that he wasn't able to, and that total concentration feels very different to him. Genya suggests that perhaps Tanjiro's head mark indicates he's already in a different state. Tanjiro points out that Mr. Guillaume and Genya don't have marks but were still able to move the boulder. Genya acknowledges this, but adds that in Tanjiro's case, his emotions might play a crucial role. Hearing this, Tanjiro becomes a bit sad. Genya then apologizes, saying he might have reminded Tanjiro of some sad memories and takes the blame for it. Tanjiro reassures him that it's not his fault. Genya expresses his belief that Tanjiro can achieve it, and Tanjiro thanks Genya for his support. Then Tanjiro goes to continue his training. First, he remembers his family and recalls Rengoku's words. Set your heart ablaze. This thought ignites a fire within him. He tries again, and this time, he manages to move the boulder slightly before stopping. He remembers his family and Rengoku once more, and we see the fire burning within his body, along with the mark on his forehead becoming visible. Zenitsu and Inosuke are also watching. Inosuke says he won't let Tanjiro surpass him. Slowly, Tanjiro starts pushing the boulder forward and succeeds in moving it. Zenitsu and Inosuke are astonished. Zenitsu exclaims that Tanjiro is a monster, while Inosuke admits that Tanjiro has defeated him. Then we see Muzan, who seems confused and says, I don't understand what they are up to, but we will meet soon, Yubayashiki. The episode ends there.